This is from July 15th, 2019. The trouble with Downton Abbey. If the Rick blog had an editor besides me, she would probably discourage me from investing time writing thought pieces about TV shows, however popular, that went off the air in 2015, even if they have a theatrical release installment of the series coming out later in the year, probably within a couple months now. But the Rick blog has never been about popularity, often to the great distress of Rick. The Rick blog is about Rick's life, which is a boring and uneventful subject determined by design and also by Rick's nature. Rick prefers to place his attention only on what interests him, and what interests him always comes down to research for deciding what he will think, say, write, and do. Rick believes in writing what he doesn't know to turn the old truism topsy-turvy. Rick is an eternal innocent, always looking at a blank canvas, possessing no immovable knowledge or wisdom at all. So Rick always has to figure everything out for himself. It can be exhausting for those who love and care about him. Rick is an artist. It took him years to figure that one out, so he really doesn't do anything. He is ill-suited to the worlds of commerce and politics. They upset him. Rick loved acting, but that art form is too communal. His impulses were always limited by the impulses of the people around him. Impulses that included art, but more often involved commerce and politics, even if only social politics. People Rick knew in the theater wanted to be rich and popular. The friends Rick made in the theater, who are many and dear, always respected and desired art. Now, what is art in the Rick blog context? Let's start with the blog itself. Why would anyone care about Rick's obscure and largely unnoticed life, a life where Rick doesn't really do much, and processes his thoughts and feelings about what he observes? Well, Rick's conceit is that his experience is a human one, and that his experience is universal. He is not knowledgeable or wise, see above. And those are advantages for his art. He's fairly intelligent, but not monstrously so. He isn't so smart it's a problem. Not so smart that his genius can act as a defense from his feelings and his sense of wonder. He is not so smart as to be tempted to exploit his intellectual gifts in order to soar above ordinary life. Office on the 40th floor, home in a penthouse. No, Rick is grounded by his ordinary intelligence, endlessly preoccupied with navigating the plain and humble necessities and opportunities of living from cradle to grave. Rick is deeper than most people, a favorite word. He doesn't make his decisions using common sense. He really wants to understand the essence of something. The drive for the essence and the rooted ordinariness of his existence gives Rick's writing a poetic quality, although he wouldn't call it poetry. It is Rick writing, that's all. Rick writing is a problematic genre from a commercial point of view. Commerce seeks markets. It needs to fit in. Art simply goes where it belongs. When it is paid for, people want it as is. It can't be compromised to suit people's desired alterations. Art is not about escape. Art is not decorative. Art deals with what is and finds the beauty in that. Downton Abbey played a trick on me. I thought I was learning something. I thought I was experiencing art. And then it pulled the tablecloth from under the elaborate place settings in the dining room, and all that was left standing was cynical, pathetic, showbiz shit. Paula wanted to watch Downton Abbey on Amazon Prime. She has a habit of searching out series, new and old, and binging them, and I happily come along. I love the escape. I'm not immune to entertainment. I indulge myself with it constantly. It's just not what I do. And sometimes I'm surprised by the art that I find in the long-form serials. at least artistic aspects that bleed through from those commercial and communal enterprises. But I wonder, the stuff of the Rick blog, if it is possible to be a little bit art in a project dedicated to fame and money. I don't think so. I have friends who have been very successful in show business and have graced that marketplace with an artistic sensibility. They now write their own works. Their time in show business was a good living and an apprenticeship for what they are doing now. Art stands outside the hurly-burly for money and power. It is not competitive in any way. How does an artist survive? The cliche starving artist didn't come out of nowhere. He or she survives on faith. An artist believes that life is abundant and provides for all necessities to support that which is natural. An artist is part of the ecosystem, not the economy. You don't always get what you want, but you get what you need materially and creatively, whatever is needed next for your creative development. An artist is fearless. I cast a superior eye at the first 2 episodes of Downton Abbey. I mocked it as an afternoon soap opera, General Hospital set in the post-World War I British class system, better sets, costumes, actors, and dialogues, but the same old bullshit. Who is fucking who? Who is going mad? Who is going broke? Who is envious? Oh, God. The soap opera is gossip for lonely people who don't know anyone to dish about or anyone to dish with if they had any real information. I've always hated gossip, even when I was a little kind. I hated the look on people's faces when they gossiped. So bored, too impotent to be mean, just a distraction, an avoidance of their own essence, who they were. Gossip is a fart in a Gothic cathedral, graffiti in an art gallery, disinterest in what is beautiful and fine, a choice of the trivial over meaning, purpose, and potential. But by episode 3, Downton Abbey hooked me. I transformed from a man placating his wife's TV time, balance is needed. I watch a lot of MSNBC and bear season is on the horizon, to an artist eagerly taking in each moment, thinking he might learn something. Downton Abbey is so well crafted. What acting, what dialogue, and that gorgeous craft offers many pithy observations about life. I thought I was watching a masterwork of popular art. How did they do this? How did they make art in a commercial and communal sphere? Well, they didn't. Julian Fellows, the credited writer of every episode and the showrunner, obviously is very well schooled in English literature. I purposely didn't do much research into Fellows. I wanted the thing of Downton Abbey to speak for itself. He based his structure of the series on structures he had learned in British novels. In so doing, he laid out themes largely about the ending of the British class system in its waning days, and even more grandly, the end of the British Empire, the end of agrarian economies, the rise of democracy, and the rise of socialism. Fellows beautifully explored these themes in the entwined stories of the various characters of the piece, peers, middle-class professionals, and servants alike. Fellows did what the Rick blog tries to do, talk about large historic social and existential transformations from the perspective of everyday individual life. But something happened to Fellows during the production of the show, which ruined him and all of his exquisite effort. Fellows is a conservative member of the House of Lords. He had been a productive and prolific professional writer for a long time before he created Downton Abbey. He had even won an Oscar for his screenplay, Gosford Park. Downton Abbey changed Fellows from a worker bee to an owner. That was a whole different thing. He killed off a popular character at the end of an early season. It was the right thing to do. It emulated his teachers, the great British novelists. If you want to show the beauty of life, you have to show its pain and tragedy. The beauty is in how people use and respond to the sacrifice and pain, not in the avoidance of that pain. Fellows was experimenting with death and commerce. Downton Abbey was popular. He could do what he wanted. People would follow him. They would accept his leadership as an artist. But they didn't. The fans wanted their soap opera. The characters of Downton Abbey were, with a few minor exceptions, sympathetic figures. The fans wanted the characters to find love, get the job, overcome illness and false accusations. The fans wanted struggle that always ended in triumph. Fellows, now no longer a potential artist, but a really successful merchant, gave the fans what they wanted. And in the series finale, every character's storyline ends with that character getting exactly what they wanted. No one was defeated. No one died. No tragedy. No lessons learned. They knew what they wanted and they got it through surefoot action, the loving support of their community, and ridiculous good luck. And what happened to the great novelistic themes that Fellows so artfully laid out in the early seasons? They were just ignored, dropped. Literature and history lost out to soap opera. Advertisers steal from art. They can use art's evocative sounds and images to sell shit. And in the end, that is what Fellows did. Downton Abbey was a great piece of marketing, even if it was on PBS. And that says something about PBS. For me, Downton Abbey is a cautionary tale. It's a damn shame, really, how commerce has overrun everything. But art, real conscious art, will survive and thrive, made by artists and enjoyed by audiences who have faith and aren't afraid and have the discipline and strength of character to not be seduced by greed and meaningless popularity with audiences seeking and demanding mere escape out of ignorance and fatigue. Life and art are so much more. Copyright 2019, Richard Thomas.